Okay, I'm Daniel from the Hong Kong Business Ethics Development Center of the ICAC. I'm delighted to be invited by the HKICPH to this session again this year. In the coming 30 minutes, I'm going to explain to you the importance of business ethics and its relationship with corruption. I will also give you a decision-making model to handle ethical dilemmas and highlight what to do for business organizations to improve their ethical governance. First of all, let us take a look at how business ethics can be defined. Business ethics concerns personal and organizational values. It is a set of moral principles and standards of conduct by which business organizations or business corporations operate in a fair, legal, and ethical manner. Business ethics is an international trend of doing business. Many researchers have suggested that business ethics is a contributing factor for the long-term and sustainable growth of business corporations. Merits that business ethics can bring to a company may include, first of all, build reputation to attract investors and customers. A company operating in high ethical standards gains good reputation and positive image in the marketplace, hence attracting investors, instilling customers' trust and confidence. Second, business ethics can help increase productivity and staff morale. When a company operates in an ethical manner and nurtures an ethical work culture, employees can make better decisions quicker with business ethics as guiding principles, which in turn increases productivity and staff morale. Third, business ethics can improve employee retention. Employees who work for a corporation that demands a high standard of business ethics are more likely to perform the job duties faithfully and stay loyal to that organization. Finally, business ethics can help maintain business sustainability. Good ethical practices help protect a company against corporate fraud and misconduct, thereby guarding its hard-earned profits. Companies with high standards of business ethics tend to thrive in long-term sustainability. Here, I would also like to show you a quote from the famous investor Warren Buffett. That's how he perceived the consequences of unethical behavior. He said that it takes only 5 minutes to ruin one's hard-earned reputation. Unethical acts can cost your job or reputation, or even result in financial loss or criminal consequences. I think from his mouth, this is a very convincing appeal to the business sector that unethical acts would not pay. From the ICAC's perspective, the rationale behind our ethics promotion work in the business sector is similar with what Mr. Buffett said. We believe that to effectively guard against corruption and malpractices, we have to deal with the root cause, that is the mentality of people. If all the people in the business sector act ethically, a strong shield of defense can be formed to guard against any illegal behavior, particularly corruption. Business executives with a high ethical standards will say no to selfishness, dishonesty, and unfairness, and would even blow the whistle when they see others doing unfair or harmful things to the organization. So ethical governance is the first line of defense and the most fundamental one to prevent malpractices and illegal activities. In fact, ethical governance has already been an international trend. I think all of you must be aware of ESG, in which apart from environment and social elements, governance is an indispensable component that business organizations, particularly listed companies, have to take care. Corruption and also other illegal activities must be eradicated from a business organization. Otherwise, its ESG value must be at risk. So here, governance professionals definitely play an important role. On the one hand, they have to be loyal to the interests of their own company and serve as a good internal advisor. But on the other hand, they're expected to exercise due diligence in ensuring the operation of the company is complying with the basic standards, that is the prevailing laws, as well as the above law standards, such as those required under the ESG regime. And also those incorporated in the code of different professions. In a way, governance professionals are to discharge a guardian role in their company to safeguard the interests of the company and also the interests of the general public. From the corruption prevention perspective, I'd like to bring your attention to the current corruption scene in Hong Kong. Admittedly, Hong Kong now enjoys a more or less corruption-free society. With the concerted efforts of the ICAC and all Hong Kong people in the past decades, we have effectively curbed the problem. In 2021, the total number of corruption complaints received by the ICAC is 2,264, which is on par with the complaint statistics in the past decade. However, I have to alert you that now over 65% of our complaints are originated from the private sector. And you may have want to know that the top three sectors that attracted most complaints are building management, construction, finance, and insurance. So some of these cases involve direct bribery, which really warns us that we can never be complacent with the current situation. Again, from the international perspective, we are also doing well. According to the Corruption Perception Index of the Transparency International, we are ranked the 12th out of 180 countries or territories with regards to corruption perception reflected by respondents of the survey. We are also a high performer in respect to the rule of law standards. In 2021, Hong Kong is ranked the 5th in the East Asian and Pacific region. And more importantly, Hong Kong comes the 3rd in the absence of corruption and the 9th in the world. So for sure, Hong Kong's integrity culture is our competitive edge. However, without the continued support of all sectors of the community, this competitive edge can be vanished quickly. So that's why I'm here to appeal for your buy-in of the importance of business ethics and uphold business ethics principles, starting from this competition and also in your career and professional development that you will pursue. With regard to corruption, it is for sure a breach of morals. And what's more, the degree of immorality will cause legal sanctions to the offender. In Hong Kong, corruption is an offense under the Prevention of Bribery Ordinance, POBO, which is enforced by the ICAC. Here will show you a short video showing, telling you the spirit behind this ordinance.
In Hong Kong, the Prevention of Bribery Ordinance, Chapter 201, is enforced by the ICAC. The legislation regulates the corrupt conduct in public and private sectors. The spirit of the legislation is to ensure a fair play so that different industries in Hong Kong can do their businesses in a clean and fair environment, and to protect the interest of all stakeholders, including companies, clients, employers, and employees. The legislation also aims to maintain the trust between the principal and agent and prevent employees or agents from abusing their power for personal gain and undermine fairness. So, as the video suggests, corruption is a breach of trust and honesty. There are 4 major elements under the POBO Section 9, which governs private sector corruption. We usually call these elements 4 A's elements for easy memory. The first A is the type of people governed by this piece of legislation. Section 9 of the POBO states that only agents are being governed.
According to the POBO, agents are any person being employed or acting on behalf of another. The second A is the approval of the principal. By the term principal, it means that the party who employs the agent or the party who entrusts an agent to act on behalf of him. The third element is soliciting or accepting an advantage. The law has a very clear definition about advantage, and I will explain it to you later on. Finally, an act. It means that an agent, without the principal's approval, solicit or accept an advantage, which can constitute an inducement to or reward for an act done by the agent, and the act is related to the principal's affairs or business. So once a person finds himself gets these four elements at the same time, he can be caught by Section 9 of the POBO. The maximum penalty of this offense is an imprisonment for 7 years and a fine of $500,000. This is a criminal offense and will, of course, affect the eligibility of professionals. So the principle laid down by the POBO is not complicated, and yet there are some common misunderstandings about the law. The most usual one is about the definition of advantage. I'll show you here the list of items regarded as advantage under the POBO. These include gifts of money or in kind, commission, employment, service, or other intangible items such as exercise of rights or power. A point to note here is that there is no monetary threshold for these items to be regarded as an advantage, or in other words, any amount of value, no matter how low it is, can be an advantage. So although the law has set a broad definition of advantage, if you are observant enough, you must notice that on this list, entertainment is explicitly exempted. So what is entertainment? According to the POBO, entertainment means the provision of food or drink for immediate consumption on the occasion when it is provided, or and of any other entertainment connected with or provided at the same time. Generally speaking, it is okay to offer or accept normal business meals if it complies with the company's code of conduct set up by individual companies. But extravagant and frequent entertainment should be avoided, as it may affect one's judgment when discharging work duties. Companies should spell out the restrictions of entertainment in a code of conduct, alerting staff not to compromise their integrity due to excessive entertainment offered by their business clients or partners. So here I cite a typical case example here to illustrate how Section 9 of the POBO may apply in a listed company situation. The case involves a financial controller come company secretary in relation to the acquisition of a company. It was revealed that out of the $754,000 payments released by the listed company to the accounting firm, a total of $600,000 was eventually transferred to the bank account of the financial controller as bribe money. And the role of this financial controller come company secretary is to recommend this listed company to hire this accounting firm to provide the service to this listed company in relation to an exercise related to the listing or the financial services required by this listed company. So applying Section 9 of the POBO in this case, this financial controller is an agent to his company, and without the approval from his principal, he accepted a monetary advantage from from this accounting firm for an act in its official capacity. That is to recommend his listed company to hire this accounting firm. He got all the elements of Section 9 and therefore contravened the offense. Furthermore, during our investigation, it was revealed that this financial controller also set up a consultancy firm of which he was the sole director. Without disclosing the interest to the listed company, he caused the company to engage his consultancy firm to provide financial advisory and consultancy services. As a result, he defrauded the listed company of about $2 million. The financial controller's behavior was definitely unethical to the extent that it would incur a legal sanction. He was found guilty of 2 charges, one for conspiracy to accept illegal rebates, and one of fraud, and was sentenced to imprisonment. In fact, apart from accepting advantages or accepting bribe, the POBO also deals with situations involving dishonest behavior of an agent, not related to acceptance of bribe. Under Section 9, subsection 3 of the POBO, it is an offense for any agent who uses documents which contain false or wrong information with a view to deceive his principal. The spirit of the law is to prevent, first, the breach of trust between principal and agent, and secondly, the use of erroneous documents to cover up or facilitate corrupt dealings. Common examples of these documents are attendance records, claim forms for allowance or reimbursement, medical certificates for sick leaves, OT hours, etc. This section of the POBO plays a useful role in providing additional protection to the principal's affairs or business from misconduct by an agent. One final note about the POBO: although performing any act in relation to the principal's affairs is a major element contributing to a bribery offense, the POBO takes care of the mens rea or state of mind of those being accused of soliciting or offering a bribe. If the corrupt intention is proven, the following situations would not be acceptable in court. According to Section 19 of the POBO, there is no defense for committing a bribery act, even if the advantage is customary in any profession, trade, vocation, or calling. For example, giving red packets to site supervisors of construction sites, for example, in the Chinese New Year, or sending Christmas hampers to procurement staffs of clients, may be some common practices. But the legality of such acts depends on whether the recipient has his principal's approval for accepting such advantages. Furthermore, according to Section 11 of the POBO, not performing the act requested after receiving the advantage may not release one from the legal liability. If there is a corrupt intention, an agreement has been made between the 2 parties. For whatever reason that the act is not performed, for example, the recipient did not actually have the right or power to carry out the thing that he promised to do, or the recipient did not in fact do so, or even the recipient did not have the intention to do so. It cannot be a defense in court. So as I said earlier, every year the ICAC received about 1,400 complaints related to the private sector, which accounts for about 60% of our complaints received. These complaints may involve different functional areas in the business sector, including all those listed here. On the top of the list, procurement is generally the most corruption-prone areas due to the substantial business interests and outflow of cash. There are many cases that procurement staff abused his power for accepting bribes when selecting contractors or accepting substandard goods or services in the procurement process. Sales and marketing directly affects the company's profitability, as sales staff are mostly rewarded based on sales transactions. It is not uncommon to see sales staff offering bribes to secure business contracts for meeting their sales targets. Other areas in which corruption may occur include use of false documents to deceive money or allowance from the company, leakage of confidential information or data for personal gains, showing favor to certain staff when handling staff administration. Lastly, improper handling of conflict of interest situations. Here I would like to explain a little bit more about conflict of interest, in short, COI. A conflict of interest situation arises when the private interest of a staff member conflicts with the interests of the company. Private interests here include both the financial and personal interests of staff members, their relatives, and even close personal friends. Conflicts of interest is a typical ethical issue. They are normally not illegal by themselves. However, mishandling conflicts of interest may distort and cast doubt on the reliability of one's professional judgment. If fraudulent acts such as falsifying documents are involved, it may lead to other criminal offenses such as fraud or false accounting. Furthermore, if advantage is offered to accepted in conflict of interest situations, it may even be a breach of the Prevention of Bribery Ordinance. So when tackling ethical issues such as conflict of interest, we now here come to the part about the ethics plus decision-making process that we recommend to you for tackling ethical issues or in drafting your answers to any questions about business ethics. Actually, it is a model developed by our Center for assisting business executives to make wise decisions when facing ethical dilemmas. And it is a step-by-step ethical decision-making process that consists the ethics thinking process and the plus standards. There are 6 major steps in this ethics thinking process. The first step is the capital letter E. We divide the ethics thinking process by naming the different steps with the first letter with the letter ethics. The first letter is E. E is to establish the relevant facts in identifying the ethical issues at stake. For example, in a COI situation, the ethical issues may be honesty, for example, whether you would report the conflict of interest to your company, or fairness, or for example, whether the conflict would cause any unfair situation to the parties concerned. And T is the step to take stock, and then you have to take account of all the actors and relevant facts. And then you have to identify the alternatives, and then you have to consider the plus factors, and finally select the best course of action. So the ethics process is the first step is to establish the facts, and then to take stocks of all stakeholders and have an assessment of all the alternatives and identify the alternatives and evaluate the alternatives and then select the best course of action. So what I want to emphasize is about the plus standards or the plus factors. We actually divide the plus factors into 4 elements. The first element is the professional or trade-related or company code of conduct. One must have to take into consideration of whether the choice of action would violate any of these codes or standards. For example, in a COI situation, one has to consider whether the COI problem has to be refuted to the company. Otherwise, will the act of not disclosing the COI would be in breach of any professional standard or company code of conduct. L stands for legal requirements. We emphasize that the selected course of action must not violate any laws. This is, I think, the most fundamental principle that every professional or everyone in the society has to observe, because if you breach the law, you have a very serious consequence. And the third element is uncompromising value. One must consider whether the selected course of action corresponds with one's self-value, such as loyalty, fairness, trustworthiness. So this is the test. These are the factors that you have to ask yourself, your self-value. But the last factor is the sunshine test. It's not just talking about yourself. It's about how others will perceive your decision. Sunshine test is a simple and yet very effective way to evaluate whether a decision is ethical or not. In short, a decision cannot pass the sunshine test if it cannot be disclosed to others openly and honestly without misgivings. So we believe that after going through the plus decision factors, after considering all these factors, business executives are more likely to make a decision which is law-abiding and is also ethically sound. For preparing your analysis on moral issues, I think it can be a systematic way to present your argument. Apart from the personal level, I would also like to give you another takeaway, which is about business corporations, which is about how business corporations may improve their ethical governance. First, we strongly believe that business corporations must set an ethical tone at the top of the organization. So it's talking about ethical leadership. Business leaders must first internalize an ethical mindset and cultivate the virtuous mind of their organization. Next, business corporations must define their standard of behavior and state them clearly in the code of conduct for all company staff as well as directors themselves. The importance of the code of conduct is just like the backbone of a company in respect of integrity management of a company. Like human body, a business corporation must also keep up its ethical fitness through training. Our center is actually providing training for all levels of staff to maintain the awareness over ethical issues. Finally, to boost up the immunity of companies against ethical risks, we suggest companies to maintain an effective internal control system to prevent any systemic loopholes conducive to malpractices and misconduct. Actually, corresponding to the above four aspects, we have developed a checklist which provides a tool for corporate leaders to conduct a quick organizational checkup in corporate ethics and diagnose the areas for follow-up and improvement. I think the checklist can be a good reference for compiling your recommendations in the case study competition. Apart from the checklist, the Hong Kong Business Ethics Development Center provides a full array of services to the business corporations to help them doing the integrity management work. As the backbone of the corporate governance, we offer assistance to business corporations to set up or review their code of conduct. We also offer free training to business corporations. For listed companies, in particular, we provide ethics training for company directors so that they may fulfill the director's training requirement under the ESG requirement. On the prevention aspect, the Corruption Prevention Department of the ICAC offers consultancy services to business corporations upon their request for improving the internal control mechanism so that possible loopholes can be minimized. Finally, we produce practical guides for different trades and professions. For drafting your case analysis, I would strongly recommend you to read our guidebook for listed companies, which provides guidance on formulating, implementing, or reviewing corporate anti-corruption policies and programs. And we have also a toolkit on directors' ethics, which is a guide for company directors to practice ethical governance. And I think this is also a very good reference for drafting your analysis to the question. So the Hong Kong Business Ethics Development Center is here to help. We have actually put almost all our resources onto our website. And please feel free to serve and get what you need. You may also subscribe to our website for obtaining our latest information. Finally, in case you have really encountered a situation where you suspect corruption, please approach us for advice or investigation. Our contact is shown on this line, and I have to stress that all information provided to the ICAC will be kept in strict confidence. This brings me to the end of my presentation this evening. I hope the information provided is useful for your case study competition. And I also hope you all the best in your competition. Good luck to you all. And I hope the competition will bring you many meaningful takeaways.